Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to go through 5 life advice tips that I made for myself 7 years ago and wrote down in a note on my phone that I found the other day. And I wanted to see whether I still agree with them or whether my opinions have changed on what my life advice really should be. So firstly, what I have written down is don't stress out about things. Just things in general. If you can control it, why are you stressing? If you can't control it, why are you stressing? Well, I guess there's some truth to this. I still kind of agree with these points. I think that there's a lot of things in life that we can't control that we shouldn't stress out about, and there's a lot of things in life that we can control that we also shouldn't stress out about because we can actively do things to prevent them or to help them or make the situation better. But I don't completely agree with this point in that we shouldn't stress out about things at all. Because it's a natural emotion. It's something that everybody feels is stress and difficulty under workload. When you have a lot on your plate, it's hard not to feel stressed. So it's a natural emotion and it's something you shouldn't deny yourself. But there are certainly instances where people stress out about completely the wrong things. You shouldn't stress out about the fact that you forgot to make your bed this morning. You shouldn't stress out about the fact there's a few pots and pans left on the side for you to clean. But there are situations where stress is a perfectly normal thing, and actually denying yourself stress and denying yourself that feeling of being under pressure can be detrimental to your health. But I do believe that reducing stress is something that is crucial in maintaining happiness and improving your mental health. So reducing stress or unnecessary stresses where possible is still a crucial life lesson. So I'd say I pretty much agree with this one. So the second thing that I have written down is don't regret your actions. In 10 years, nobody's going to remember what you've done. Now, this is something that I wholeheartedly agree with, except for a few certain circumstances. So the reason I agree with this is mainly due to this thing called the spotlight effect, which is where people tend to think other people are perceiving them far more than they actually are. What this means is you think people are thinking about you a lot more than they really are. And this is an unfortunate truth of the world. So one way that I like to highlight this to people is to say, when was the last time you remember someone with a stain on their shirt? Now, most people, unless it was in the last few days, can't remember. Yet when you have a stain on your shirt, you think the whole world is looking at you. You think everyone's noticing and judging you. And this is actually something that's been scientifically experimented. College students were sent to seminars wearing bright yellow Barry Manilow-faced t-shirts. And they were asked to estimate how many people noticed their t-shirts and would be able to name the celebrity on the front. Now, obviously it's a bit dated because for young people, we might not know who Barry Manilow is, but the people who wore the t-shirts estimated that 50% of people would be able to name the person on the shirt and would have noticed they were wearing a bright yellow Barry Manilow t-shirt, when in actual fact, the percentage of people who could name the celebrity and notice they were in a t-shirt was only 20%. So less than half the number of people that they thought were thinking about them were actually thinking about them. What this means in the real world is that even if you make a mistake or a blunder in an interview or a presentation or in your first chance meeting with somebody, they probably won't remember that in the long run unless it's something really bad, like you slipped and cut your head open in front of them. But even that, some people might forget. So don't be afraid of putting yourself out there and making mistakes, because if you make mistakes, the chances are, in the long term, people won't remember them, but they will remember the good things that you've done, and you'll certainly remember the things that you learned from those mistakes. And this ties in nicely with this idea of regret. Once you break through the barrier of regretting or being embarrassed by your actions, then you can start progressing much more quickly because you can learn from your mistakes as you make them more and more often. Learning from mistakes is how children learn to write and read and walk far more quickly than adults can learn another language, because typically adults are embarrassed by making mistakes. They only learn how to be perfect or how to do things the right way, whereas making mistakes is the best way to learn quickly and efficiently. So the third thing I have written down is live life shamelessly. So this ties in with the previous point that I just made about not living with regret and not living with embarrassment, but actually this goes slightly further and says live without shame. Whatever you do, be proud of what you're doing. And this is something that I completely and wholeheartedly agree with. No matter what you do, you should do things you're proud of. You're not going to put your full commitment or your full effort into something you're not proud of. So anything you do, make sure you do it as proudly as you can. So I have another key thing that I like to remember when it comes to living shamelessly, which is time is irreversible. Time spent is time gone. You can't get it back no matter what you do. So you should live without shame. You should spend your time the way that you want to and be proud of the things that you do with your time, because you only get one chance to use it. You only get one chance to use the next day. You only get one chance to use your next hour. So make sure you do something that you're proud of in that time. So one big thing that you learn by living without shame is you quickly learn how to not make excuses for yourself. It's very easy to say, I won't do that workout because I can do it later, or I won't start this thing now because I can do it later. But as soon as you realise that time is irreversible and you should be proud of what you're doing, suddenly lying in bed for an extra 15 minutes isn't really something you're proud of, or sitting in front of the TV watching 4 or 5 hours of TV isn't something you're proud of. So it forces you to be more active and it makes you more efficient with your time. Now, fourth on my list is something very 16-year-old of me, but it's sometimes you just have to lick the stamp and send it. Now, this is something I still agree with, but I take with a pinch of salt. There are certain situations in life where you need to just go for it. Let the reins loose and just see what happens. But there are also situations in life where the human brain is quite sensible and it's probably saving you from danger. For example, jumping off a really high cliff onto concrete, probably not the best idea. I wouldn't be licking the stamp and sending that one. So as a part of that, the human brain is actually really well engineered to stop you from doing things that will cause you embarrassment or might put you in a potential situation of risk or danger. And in fact, studies have shown that you have about 5 seconds when you think of a task to act on it before your brain kicks in and goes, whoa, 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 you don't want to be doing that. That might embarrass you, or that might put you at risk. And this is a point that's made really well by Mel Robbins, so I'll leave a link in the description to her take on this and her explanation of it all, because I think it's really fantastic and can be really motivating once you understand that ideology. So in those moments, you really do need to lick the stamp and send it, because once you get started, you've got over the first hurdle, and that's normally the hardest one. It gets you going, it gets you out of bed in the morning, it gets you to start that task you've been putting off. Once you start it, keep going. However, there are of course the potential drawbacks of this lick the stamp and send it mentality. Now, the most crucial one of these, in my opinion, is that it can lead you to be too headstrong and not think about some of the potential drawbacks of significant decisions. If you just lick the stamp and send it into every opportunity, then the chances are you'll miss some really good opportunities and you'll probably not perform as well as you can in some others. So a really good example of this is if you have a bad day at work, you're sitting at home in the evening, you're thinking, I hate this job, I want to quit, I want to do my own projects. It's not the best time to lick the stamp and send it, and send that email to your boss saying you're giving up. What you should do instead, in situations like that, is take a bit of time to think about the benefits and the drawbacks, and make a weighted decision. But that still doesn't mean that there aren't situations where licking the stamp and sending it is a fantastic option. And so fifth and finally, I come to the last thing I have written down, which is live your life attempting to realise your full potential. Now, this is something I still agree with on the whole, but there are again caveats. So my mentality has slightly changed from when I was a 16-year-old. So I think that this mentality is really good for getting you to maximise the things that you get out of life. If you can keep to it, it will keep you motivated for work, it will help you complete that side project, it will help you to keep investing and thinking about the long-term goal. But the potential issue that it has is that it creates a constantly moving set of goalposts. So if anyone ever asks me, what's your biggest fear in life? I would say that related to this, my biggest fear in life is not living up to the expectations that I have of myself and not realising my full potential in the long term. But obviously, this dooms me to failure, because this is an always ever expanding set of goalposts. Once I reach one target of what I thought I had or what I thought I could achieve, I'm always going to be thinking about the next thing. And then when I achieve that, the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and it goes on. So this is a mentality that's really, really difficult to break out of. It's that I constantly believe that I can achieve more and more and more. And sure, it keeps me motivated and it keeps me working on different projects, and it does reap some very good rewards, but it means that if I stick to this, I'll never find satisfaction in what I have, because I'm constantly thinking about more and what I can move on to next. So this is where I think a compromise on this life tip should come in. You should aim to realise as much of your potential as you can, but there should always be a compromise of making sure you're happy and satisfied. So the whole point of being here is to be happy. You want to enjoy your life. That's what everybody wants at a base level, is to be happy, stress-free, enjoying what they're doing. So you should always try and find that compromise between working hard for a long-term goal and then finding that sustainable point where you are happy. So you're not trying to constantly achieve more and more and more and creating that ever-expanding set of goalposts. So those are my 5 life tips from when I was a 16-year-old. I'm probably going to try and make another video with my new life tips from when I'm 23 and just see how my mentality has changed and whether I would bring any new tips in completely different from the ones I've previously mentioned. But let me know what you did think of those life tips down below in the comments. Give me any of your life tips and life advice that you have. I'd love to hear from any of you, specifically older watchers who might have better advice for the naive younger people like myself. And as always, don't forget, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you are new around here, leave those comments as I said, and I'll see you in the next video.